I was living a pretty, I think, typical American lifestyle when this all came about, in the sense that I am divorced, and I was raising my two children, who then were elementary school age, beginning middle school age, and I was working full time as an attorney, and I was living a life that fulfilled all of the commonly held criteria of success, and I was completely unfulfilled from a spiritual standpoint. As I alluded to earlier, I've lived a life full of activities, of doing things, of embracing experiences, of seeking, of being passionate and seeking out experiences very passionately and engaging them and absorbing the benefit of that. And perhaps because I have lived because I have lived that way and very completely during some periods of my life, when I found myself just totally glued to the daily grind of, getting the kids to, getting up, getting my exercise, getting my yoga, getting my meditation, getting the kids breakfast, getting them to school on time, taking care of my clients during the workday, and then, picking the kids up from school, coming home, feeding them again, and then collapsing. That cycle day after day was leaving me in a state of depletion, and I'm sure contributed to the formation of these events in my life. But I think what I want to acknowledge here is that I was looking for an out. I have never felt like a victim of cancer, because part of my path is transparency and being authentic. And part of the practice of transparency and being authentic is learning to see your own lies. And for me, right up front, I had to be honest and acknowledge the fact that I had been seeking a way out of my daily grind life. And so me coming up with cancer shouldn't have been too much of a shock to me for that reason. In fact, it was something that, okay, not directly, but a way out was directly something I had asked the universe to create for me. And so when I realized that my way out was going to be cancer, I had to sit with that and be honest with my part in creating that, and accept that as a sovereign and not as a victim. And that was part of what I was doing during those couple of months before I actually went to the doctor and got diagnosed. And the diagnosis, I would say, was more of a public act. It was more of needing to create my story in the public way that would allow me to say, okay, now world, I'm shifting from full-time attorney and mom to self-healer, and this is my justification for doing that. So also having to acknowledge that my first instinct was to tell nobody I had cancer and to treat this as completely as a private journey. However, because of the way families and society works, I found myself needing a justification to hold in front of everyone for what I was doing. And what I was doing was transforming my existence. And I think that was where I generated the most resistance among my family members. They would have been much more comfortable for me as a single woman, as a professional single woman, if I had chosen to embrace the path that the doctors laid out for me, because it would have, after a period of time, hopefully led to my going back to work and living a relatively normal life with whatever my condition was at the time. Or at least that's what everyone hopes for on a mainstream path in cancer, that you'll go through your surgery and your treatment and that you'll come out the other end able to function again in a normal way. And I knew that that wasn't for me, that wasn't my path at all, because in fact I had a house and a couple of cars, and I had a material world that I really didn't want. I had it because I felt that as a parent, this is what I was supposed to be providing for my children. And when I was being really honest with myself around the cancer diagnosis, I realized I don't want to maintain a household. If I have limited energy and I need to choose how to spend that energy, I'm not going to spend it maintaining a material surrounding, because that is not what gives me comfort in life. And everybody's different. So for someone else, I would say, if your home is what gives you comfort, by all means cling to that. Because when you're creating your dance with cancer, it's up to you to create what makes you happy, what gives you comfort. And that may or may not be what the doctor offers, and it may or may not be what your family offers. And I think what I'm just trying to state here is you got to listen to your own voice and listen to your own needs above everybody else's, because this is your journey. When this comes up, this is a very personal journey, and it's not something that you can let other people decide for you if you want to have any degree of satisfaction with it. So if I had let other people decide for me, I would have let my father, the physician, run my journey. And in fact, I didn't listen to him, and that was what created a huge divide with my family. And again, if you have family that's supportive of what you choose in your journey, by all means, let them support you, because it's a time in your life when you could use a lot of physical support. But in fact, I found that my daughters were young. They embraced me and they supported me, but I never expected physical support from them, of course, because of their age and their abilities. But I clearly was, from the beginning, not going to receive any kind of emotional or physical support from my family. In fact, they showed that they were going to fight me all the way, and they were going to make me feel really bad about what I had chosen. And not being a victim, I decided that the only path for me was to keep some distance between myself and my family. And during that time, I never shut them out completely, but it sort of naturally fell into a pattern of they didn't speak to me and I didn't reach out and ask them for anything, because that was not going to be helpful for my happiness and for my journey.